Welcome back to the Realtor Diaries podcast. My name is Elijah McGowan, and joining me as always is the wonderful
Kim Jacobi. We're with the Jacobi Team of Century 21. We are your go-to Northern California realtors.
And today's episode's topic is going to be sales. I think maybe our least favorite part of the job.
Yeah, and we are salespeople, but hate salesy people.
Yes, it kind of sucks, honestly. I don't know. I think it comes from the stereotypical bad salesy experience is car salesman, which I hate to throw any industry under the bus.
Oh yeah,
but,
especially since we get thrown under the bus so often.
Yes, but I mean, Erica, my girlfriend, could attest that just becoming more salesy is probably not exactly what I'm trying to be.
Yeah. Well, and then I feel one time, and I don't remember how long ago, but I went into a Staples, office supply store, because I needed, I think I was going to buy a printer for my house.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
So this was pre-COVID, This is back when people bought printers for their houses.
When people went into stores.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I went into the Staples store, and usually when a salesperson comes up to me and asks me if I need help, I say no, because I just want to stand there and look at the different printers.
You're willing to read.
And yeah, and I don't really, for me it's about price.
Yeah.
At least it was for me at that time. But for some reason I let this guy do his thing, and
okay.
He ended up selling me a more expensive printer.
Okay.
And a warranty.
Really?
I don't buy warranties because...
For electronics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they cost extra money, and a lot of times you don't use it, and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
He was so good.
Really?
He was so good at sales.
But was he salesy?
Yeah. But I said yes to the salesy. I knew what I was getting into.
Okay.
When I let him help me.
Yeah.
But he was really, really good at what he did. And I didn't feel tricked, but I just remember thinking okay, so I bought a more expensive printer.
Yeah.
I was happy with the printer. And then I bought the warranty, and I did regret that because I don't think we ever even used it. But
there you go. A couple year warranty.
Yeah.
A few dollars on it. Okay. So I guess that is to say that being salesy isn't the worst thing in the world.
No, apparently it works for some people, which is why so many people, I think, are salesy.
Yeah. And I definitely think that's when I think this stems from part of the reason I wanted to be a realtor, because I was at Costco selling credit cards.
Oh.
And they're like, we want you to be super salesy.
Yeah.
Go out and sell. And that was not at all when I was working there.
How do you sell credit cards at Costco?
So
you just walk around and...
No, they mark you as the Costco member. And what they're supposed to do is track your spending and say, okay, well, if you got this credit card, you would make enough cash back to pay for your membership.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which would be great. That's awesome if you shop enough at Costco. What would happen is in my small town, I would see the same people every month.
Oh, no.
and the register would say, hey, these guys are flagged for being able to save some money. And I would walk over and I'd be like, hi, Jeff, you're back again. And we'd go to my computer system and it'd be like, wow, you only come here once a month and you just buy toilet paper. There's no way this is worth it for you. Why would I sell this to you? And then I don't sell it to them. I walk back to wait for the next person to come by, and my manager comes by and says, hey, did you get that credit card sold? I'm like, no, I didn't, because it wasn't worth it for them.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you should try harder.
Right?
I just didn't understand. And now I think I get it a lot more, and I feel a lot better about it, because when I'm being salesy, it's in a negotiation.
Yeah.
Right now, at least when I'm representing clients as a realtor, I'm like, okay, my client is my quote-unquote boss or manager in this case. I know what they want or need, and I have the skills I can employ to get it.
Yeah.
In a way that isn't detrimental to really anybody, and I'm not nagging anybody. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe sometimes I'm nagging someone.
The other agent.
Yes, yeah. So maybe I'm nagging the other agents, but it's never. I don't feel sick to my stomach.
No, but that's because it's like you're serving a purpose, and yes. You're actually trying to help someone win. But no, I know what you're saying, because one of my first jobs back in the day, I worked at Bank of America as a teller.
There you go.
And they wanted us to sell Bank of America products to people, like
fair.
Like, you need a third checking account. You just do.
Wait, really? Like that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, like okay. Our jobs as tellers was to try to get people to open up more accounts with Bank of America.
Oh.
Because of the fees. Right?
Yeah, because you make that's how you make money, or right. Some money.
Yeah, or trying to talk them into getting like a CD or an auto loan or something. I couldn't help them with that, but I could pass it off to somebody at the floor.
And then you made a sale.
Yeah. But it's like, it's regardless of, so we're supposed to pitch these products to people regardless of if they need it or not, or if it's actually going to be helpful in their life or not. And I think that's what we hate.
Yeah. I think that's where the like being a salesperson but hating salesy people stems from, like trying to sell something to someone who doesn't need it or want it.
Right.
Which is almost what you're expected to do, at least, and I think it probably stems from like maybe a more corporate environment.
Yeah.
And that's just what it stems from.
It's like you're saying, like, I want your money, and I don't care that this product won't help you. And that sucks.
Yeah, that's almost what, in those cases, we were expected to say.
Yeah.
And now we get to say, I want your money, and I will help you to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
Which feels a lot better.
Well, and it's interesting because in real estate, like, we are selling houses, mm-hmm. but not like I was trying to sell an extra checking account.
Not like trying to sell a credit card.
Sell a credit card. We're not trying to talk someone into buying a house who that's not even on their radar.
Yeah.
Like, they came to us and said, we want to buy a house.
And then we went through the work and went, okay, here's your options. And we went through 10,000 options.
We're not trying to convince them to buy a house. Now, there are mm-hmm. some realtors who do that.
Yeah.
They try to convince people to sell their house or buy a house. And that wasn't on that person's radar to begin with.
Yeah. And
that's not our thing.
Yeah. And that's kind of as a Jacobi Team thing.
Yeah.
Like, even when we're going out and knocking on doors, it's never, I think you should buy your house because these reasons.
Right.
It's always, have you been thinking of selling your house?
Yeah.
And if you haven't, well,
see you later.
Bye. I can't help you if you don't want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have this one story. It's so awful.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was a new agent. Luckily, I didn't do this, but it was like one of my first clients. Well, they're mm-hmm. one of their good friends. They're husband and wife, and they had put their house on the market. But what happened was, like, they had gone and found themselves a realtor and said, we want to sell our house.
Yeah.
Right? And this is kind of our time frame. And, well, the realtor apparently, like, had them sign stuff but didn't really explain what they were signing. Mm. And they were the type of people who didn't really ask, you know?
They were like, okay, we trust this professional.
Right. So. Well, they didn't realize that they just signed a listing agreement. The next morning, they woke up. Mm-hmm. There was a for sale sign in their yard. And...
oh, they didn't know they were selling
their house. They told them, we want to sell.
Yeah.
And this is our time frame. But they didn't say, we want it to go live on the market tomorrow. They didn't say that.
Which should definitely be a part of the discussion. Yeah. It's like...
so he's like, here, sign this. Anyways, so they wake up the next morning, the sign's in the yard. And this was during a time when multiple offers, like crazy.
Oh, so it was normal for it to be a very crazy market, yeah.
So, I mean, their house was, like, they got multiple offers within a day or two. And they weren't even ready to sell.
That sounds so overwhelming.
I know. And so they were, like, tricked into it. And I just, when I heard that story, I was like, what? Like, how is that even possible? That's
like unethical.
Oh, yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously, like, if you sign something and it's a contract looking thing, like, you should know what you're signing.
Yes. And sometimes, like, if you're actually putting your signature on anything, like, I think one of our managers a long time ago gave an example. It was like how real estate agents don't technically have to use our forms.
True.
Like a listing doesn't have to be 17 or 7 pages as it is now.
Right.
It can just be 1 page, but it might not hold up. Like all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
But a thing that people were doing where they basically make a flyer with the terms inside the flyer, like written out where you could read them, but it was really an advertisement. And so they were like, hey, you can sign this. And they were like, okay, they signed it. And they didn't know they were signing up for a 24-month listing at 5%.
Yes.
And the people didn't tell them because they knew they wanted to sell. And so they got the listing, didn't tell anyone they had the listing.
That is so wrong.
Then they would go to a realtor and try to sell. And this person would pop up and say, hey, I have an agreement.
I have a listing. That's like what I'm hearing.
Which is wild.
I'm hearing that with the buyer-broker agreements at open houses. That now, because now, you know, when you go to an open house, you have to sign this form as a consumer that says, I'm just visiting this open house, and you, agent that's holding the house open, I don't owe you any money. We don't have an agency. Yeah. I'm just a visitor.
Yeah, the most basic form of it is you just print your name and one way to contact you.
Right. But some agents are having people sign a buyer-broker agreement with them.
At the door.
Not explaining what they're signing.
Jeez.
I know.
It's crazy to hear.
So people are like, oh, I got to sign this in order to get into the open house. Okay.
Yeah,
and
I want to see the house.
Yeah. So basically that consumer like signed a contract with the realtor to say, you're my realtor and I owe you X amount of dollars if I buy this house.
Just with no explanation.
No. Just sign here if you want to see the open house.
I think we've gotten to the root of what our problem is with salesy people. And it's that the goal is to be ethical.
And transparent. Yeah. And helpful.
Yes. The 3 things. Yeah. Ethical, transparent, and helpful in all of your dealings.
That's right.
That is our recommendation.
And if one of those is missing, then you're salesy. We don't like it.
Well, I think we have some news for you.
Yes.
And it'll be about how you can sell better. All right, we'll catch you in the news.
And now it's time for the news. So, you know, ironically enough, we are going to talk about sales techniques. Mainly because we think that going back to our ethics, you know, if you're ethical and you're honest and you're transparent and you're making sure that the client their needs are being met, then sales techniques are okay.
Yes, in total agreement. Like for us as real estate salespersons, we have to know how to sell.
Right. We have to know how to help our client get to their goal.
Yes.
And you can actually screw it up for them because you're not the expert, but the professional.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And the professional knows what to say and how much to guide and when to do it.
And that's a very important part of our job.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you are going to talk about how to close.
Right. So basically, you know, the salesy word is closing techniques.
Yes.
But this is more like, in my mind, when I think of it this way, is like, okay, how do you help to get your client to make a decision?
Yes.
And so, if we think about in terms of, this is the perfect house. They want to buy a house. They told you that. And you have found the one. It's in their budget. It has everything they want. But they're scared, they're hesitant. So how can we help them get to that next step? We can use these closing techniques. Now there's 17 of them, but I am only going to go through some, like 6 that stood out to me.
And just to interrupt for a moment, there was a training I went to with Emmett, and it was a Tom Ferry training. And what he said is that you get the best results with timely, definitive action. And it can be hard when people are making the huge decision of buying a house to make timely or definitive decisions.
Yeah.
But that might be how they get the best result.
That's
and
right.
that's our goal, is to get them the best result that we can provide them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never had a buyer come back to me and say, you tricked me into buying this house. You know?
Which I'm sure there's agents who have had that.
You know, that's my worst nightmare.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
Like someone coming in, it's like, I didn't want to buy this.
I know.
Like, what?
Yeah.
That would be scary.
Oops. All right, so all of these closing techniques have a name. Mm-hmm. So this one's called the urgency close. This leverages time-sensitive opportunities to encourage clients to decide quickly. Mm-hmm. Example, this property has received multiple offers. To secure it, we should submit an offer today. And sometimes, you know, if your client doesn't want to feel pressured or rushed, then they'll say no. They don't want to be a part of a multiple offer situation or whatever. But if they really want the house, they have to know that. Yeah,
you have to like go in with the understanding that if you're competing, you have to know you're competing.
Yeah, and they have to know there's a time limit.
Yes.
The question close. So the question close is a technique where the realtor will ask the questions that lead the client to acknowledge their readiness to buy. Here's an example. Does this property meet all of your needs? Can you see yourself living here? And it's like, as the client answers, well, yeah, then they come to their own conclusion that they should make an offer. I like the name of this one.
Okay.
The Columbo close.
Okay, what does that entail?
Yes, well, it's named after a famous TV detective. The Columbo was a, TV show back like in the 70s or something.
Gotcha.
This involves asking a seemingly casual question right as the meeting is ending, catching the client off guard but encouraging them to reconsider.
Okay.
Here's an example. Just one more thing. Would a slight price reduction make this property more appealing?
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like they're wrapping it up. The clients are like, this isn't for me. And you're like, well, what if there was a small price reduction? Would that make this property more appealing? The effectiveness of that is because this technique can be very effective in addressing last-minute objections.
Yeah. So that is interesting. It's like perhaps they had a reason to not buy, but if the price would solve that, that is a good close for that specific situation.
Yeah, or if the buyer just has like cold feet and they're getting in their own way.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they will blame it on the price.
Yeah.
And say, oh, well, but then let's say it was $10,000 cheaper. Would that warm their feet up?
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of times it does. Okay, this technique's called the sharp angle close.
Gotcha.
This responds to a client's request for a concession by asking for the sale in return. Here's an example. If we can negotiate a slightly lower price, would you be ready to make an offer today?
Okay.
This one's the Ben Franklin close. I don't know why they called it that.
Yeah.
The Ben Franklin close involves making a list of pros and cons to help the client see the benefits outweigh the drawbacks. The puppy dog close. That's my favorite named one. Who names these? Right? This is the last one I'll share. The puppy dog close allows the client to try out the product or experience it firsthand, making it harder to say no. In real estate, that would sound like, why don't you spend some time in the property this weekend and see how it feels?
Okay. So there's like a lot of different ways to negotiate. And it feels like a lot of these are like you and your client, it is you and your client negotiating.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's necessarily negotiating with your client. It's more like you're asking them, are you ready? Like,
yeah, true.
This house, this checks all the boxes, and now are you ready to take the next step?
Yeah, and what reason might there be that you wouldn't be ready to take the next step? And what I have in front of me is, it's titled Common Mistakes to Avoid When Closing Sales. And in my mind, I always switch closing sales or or sales to negotiating, because that's just how I view the world.
Yeah, and it's negotiating though is like you're asking for something and you want either something in return or you're going to compromise, right?
That's true. We did have an episode where we had specifically negotiating tactics, so I should probably rethink my modus operandi.
Right? Sales is not necessarily negotiating. It involves negotiating.
But it's more coming to a decision.
Helping the client make a decision.
And mistakes you can make while helping someone come to a decision is overcoming objections poorly. That's one. Which that can be a myriad of things, but there's probably 10,000 objections someone could have to a sale. But if you handle one poorly, that can mean that they don't get it.
Right.
And maybe it would have been the right decision if you were able to do so, is the main thought.
So I'm off the cuff. I'm just doing this off the cuff.
Go for it.
So let's say the objection is the price.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, well, we love this house and we would buy it if it was just a little bit cheaper. The right way to handle that objection would be, well, why don't we write an offer at the price you want to buy it at and see what happens? But a poor way to handle that would be saying,
well, it's a great price. You shouldn't worry about the price.
Yeah.
Like that.
Like not addressing their concern.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not addressing it is as bad as like invalidating it,
right.
Or like those are almost equal terms.
Yeah, for sure.
So a second one is rushing them to a decision, but stated here is rushing the close. And I mean, making people feel pressured can really make them back away quickly, especially in like high emotional state circumstances.
That's different than telling them like, oh, there's multiple offers, we need to make an offer today. Because you're just letting them know like, hey, if you want this house, it's got to happen today or you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
But this one is more like you yourself, you're just impatient. You just want to get it over with. You just want them to write the offer.
Yes.
Like, write the offer already.
Yeah, if your rushing comes from a place of frustration, that is what pushes people away. But if you're informing them about a situation that is like true and factual, that is when it is maybe appropriate to rush them in that way.
That's right. With, having no emotional attachment to that.
Yeah, exactly.
So like if they say no, then you're like, cool. We never want to have commission breath.
There you go. I haven't heard that one.
Oh, you haven't?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh. Commission breath, that's a term we use in the real estate industry to where it's like, man, you stink like commissions. That's all you care about.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
New term. Your term of the day is commission breath. So, an important thing in helping people close is to pay attention to their nonverbal cues.
That's right.
Because not everyone is super verbal about their hang-ups or their objections. And while someone might verbally agree to something, if they seem hesitant, address it. Just pay close attention. And you can always say, hey, I noticed you seemed hesitant about this, or I think I've said before, I'm feeling some anxiety from you. Is there any questions you have? Are there any concerns you come up with that you haven't spoken yet? And that can really help diffuse the situation for someone who is not as verbal.
Yeah, because they may be having doubts within themselves, well, he's the professional, and I don't even know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And so they don't speak up,
And it's interesting because the opposite of all these just builds more trust and makes you more professional. Mm-hmm. The opposite of that is high pressure tactics.
Yeah.
High pressure tactics really, I've noticed, absolutely do lead to discomfort and mistrust. And I think I brought up the car salesman topic today already, but my girlfriend and her father went to buy a new car, and they came home so stressed and uncomfortable, and it was awful because they were being pressured into things. All they wanted to do was go maybe test drive a car and maybe buy a car that day, but they had been subject to so many pressure sales tactics that it totally stopped them from getting anything.
Oh yeah.
And in the case of real estate, just be pushy when it's professional, and as long as you're not ascribing your emotions to them, I think it's okay to keep them appraised of situations that might require decisive decision making. But if it doesn't, then give them the time to think and the time to act.
Totally. Yeah, often that, well, why don't you think on it overnight, right?
Yes.
Sleep on it.
Sleep on it is great.
So effective.
I think that is quite enough.
Yep, there's more, but we don't want to overload you with information.
Yes. And so, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode, and we'll catch you next time.